My wife's secret that destroyed everything. My wife looked me dead in the eyes and said, "I'm asexual now. I need you to respect that." But 3 hours later, I discovered something on her phone that shattered that lie into a million pieces. What I found wasn't just evidence of betrayal, it was proof of the most twisted psychological game I'd ever seen. And when I finally made my move, she had no idea that everything she thought she knew about her understanding husband was about to change forever. If you're into honest stories about relationships, trust, and betrayal, hit that follow button. You won't want to miss the next one. The conversation happened on a Tuesday evening in our kitchen. We'd been married for 7 years, and for the past year, our physical relationship had completely disappeared. Every attempt I made at intimacy was met with the same response. "I just don't feel that way anymore. I think I might be asexual." At first, I tried to be understanding. People change, right? Sexuality is complex. I researched asexuality, read articles, even suggested we see a therapist together to help us navigate this new reality. But she shut down every suggestion. "I don't need therapy to know how I feel," she'd say. "I just need you to accept this part of me." So I did. For an entire year, I accepted it. I stopped initiating physical contact. I stopped expecting romance. I became the understanding husband who respected his wife's newfound asexuality while slowly dying inside from the rejection and isolation. But something didn't add up. While she claimed to have zero sexual interest, she'd spend hours getting ready to go out. She bought new clothes, revealing clothes that she never wore around me. She joined a gym and started working out obsessively, transforming her body while insisting it had nothing to do with attracting anyone. "It's for me," she'd say when I complimented her new look. "Self-improvement has nothing to do with sexuality." She started going out more too. Girls' nights became a weekly occurrence, sometimes twice a week. She'd come home late, always with stories about boring conversations and overpriced drinks. But she looked energized, glowing even, in a way I hadn't seen in years. The night everything changed started like any other. She was getting ready for another girls' night, spending 2 hours on her makeup and choosing an outfit that would make heads turn. I was reading on the couch when she came downstairs. "How do I look?" she asked, spinning around in a tight dress that hugged every curve. "Beautiful," I said honestly. "Your friends are lucky to have such a stunning woman joining them tonight." She smiled, but there was something strange in her expression, almost guilty. "Don't wait up. We might make it a late one." After she left, I tried to focus on my book, but something was nagging at me. The way she'd looked at me, the way she'd seemed almost nervous. In 7 years of marriage, I'd never seen her act quite like that before a regular night out with friends. Around 10 p.m., her phone started buzzing on the coffee table. She'd forgotten it, something that never happened. This was the woman who guarded her phone like it contained state secrets. She slept with it next to her pillow and took it to the bathroom with her. I stared at the phone as it lit up with notifications, text after text after text. My first instinct was to ignore it, to respect her privacy like I always had. But then I saw the preview of one message on the lock screen that made my blood freeze. "Can't wait to continue what we started last week." The message was from someone named Alex with a contact photo of a shirtless man I'd never seen before. My hands were shaking as I picked up the phone. I knew her passcode. She'd never hidden it from me because she trusted that I'd never look. The same way I'd trusted that my asexual wife wasn't getting sexual messages from strange men. What I found in that phone destroyed everything I thought I knew about my marriage, my wife, and myself. The message thread with Alex went back 8 months. 8 months of explicit conversations, photo exchanges, and detailed planning of hookups. But that wasn't even the worst part. There were other conversations, lots of them. Different men, different apps, different arrangements. My wife, who claimed to be asexual, was actively seeking out sexual encounters with strangers online. But the conversation that made me physically sick was the one in a group chat called Married Girls Gone Wild, and it was full of women bragging about their affairs while their husbands stayed home, believing their lies. My wife's messages in this group were the most disturbing thing I'd ever read. "The asexual thing is genius. He totally bought it, and now he doesn't even try anymore." I can do whatever I want, and he thinks he's being supportive of my identity at LOL. Another message. You should see how guilty he looks when he even hints at wanting sex now. Like he's some kind of pervert for wanting his wife. It's actually hilarious. And another. Best part is he keeps suggesting therapy and being all understanding. Meanwhile, I'm getting the best sex of my life with guys who actually know what they're doing. I had to put the phone down. I was going to be sick. The woman I'd spent a year tiptoeing around, the woman I'd respected and supported through her supposed sexual identity crisis, had been using my trust and understanding to cover up the most extensive cheating operation I'd ever heard of. But I kept reading because I needed to know everything. The messages revealed that she had regular arrangements with at least 5 different men. She used different dating apps for different types of encounters, Tinder for one-night stands, Ashley Madison for ongoing affairs, and even Reddit for finding specific fetishes she wanted to explore. She had detailed profiles on each platform with photos I recognized from our vacation last year, photos I'd taken of her, thinking I was capturing memories of our marriage. Instead, she'd been using them to advertise herself to other men. The group chat revealed her entire system. She'd tell me she was going out with girlfriends, but she was really meeting men for sex. The other women in the group shared tips on how to maintain their cover stories, how to hide evidence, and how to keep their husbands from getting suspicious. One message thread was titled, "How to Keep Him from Wanting Sex Without Seeming Like a Bitch." The responses were a masterclass in psychological manipulation. Tell him you're going through a phase and need time to figure yourself out. Claim you're asexual. They can't argue with sexual identity. Make him feel guilty for having normal desires. Act like you're the victim of societal pressure to have sex. My wife had followed this playbook perfectly, but the worst discovery was yet to come. In her photo gallery, I found videos. Videos of her with other men, clearly taken without their knowledge. She was recording her encounters, and from the metadata, I could see she'd been doing this for months. I realized this wasn't just about cheating. This was about power, control, and some kind of sick psychological game where she got off on manipulating everyone around her. I sat there until 3 a.m., documenting everything. Screenshots, photos, message threads. I made copies of everything before she came home, because I knew that tomorrow everything was going to change. She stumbled in around 3:30 a.m., clearly having had more than just drinks with the girls. Her hair was messed up, her makeup smeared, and she smelled like men's cologne. "How was your night?" I asked from the couch. She jumped, not expecting me to be awake. "Oh, it was fun. Just the usual girl talk." She was trying to sound casual, but I could see the panic in her eyes as she noticed her phone in my hand. "You forgot this," I said, holding it out to her. She snatched it quickly, her face flushing red. "Thanks. I was wondering where it was." "I bet you were. Got some interesting messages while you were out." The color drained from her face. "What do you mean?" I stood up slowly, letting the weight of what I knew settle between us. "I mean, your phone was buzzing all night. Messages from Alex about continuing what you started last week." She opened her mouth, then closed it, then opened it again like a fish gasping for air. "I can explain." "Can you? Can you explain how an asexual woman gets messages like that? Can you explain the dating profiles, the group chat, the videos?" Her face went completely white. She knew I'd seen everything. "Please," she whispered, "let me explain." "It's not what you think." I almost laughed. "It's not what I think? I think my wife has been lying to me for over a year, using my respect for her supposed asexuality to cover up the fact that she's been sleeping with half the city while making me feel like a pervert for wanting intimacy with my own wife." She started crying, but they weren't tears of remorse. They were tears of panic, the tears of someone who'd been caught and was trying to figure out how to minimize the damage. "I was confused," she sobbed. "I didn't know how to tell you I wasn't satisfied. I thought if I could just explore outside the marriage, maybe I could figure out what was wrong." "What was wrong?" "What was wrong was that you decided to turn our marriage into a psychological experiment where I was the unwitting subject." I pulled out my laptop and showed her the screenshots I'd taken. Her messages mocking me, her detailed plans with other men, her conversations about how easy it was to manipulate me. This isn't confusion, I said. This is cruelty. She looked at the evidence of her own words and broke down completely. Not because she felt guilty, but because she knew she couldn't lie her way out of this. What do you want? She asked through her tears. I want you to pack a bag and leave, tonight. You can't just throw me out. This is my home, too. Actually, I can. Check the deed. This house is in my name only. I bought it before we got married, and you never contributed to the mortgage. The look of shock on her face told me she'd never bothered to check the legal details of our living situation. She'd been so focused on her double life that she'd never considered the practical implications of getting caught. Where am I supposed to go? I don't know. Maybe Alex can help you out, or one of your other boyfriends, or maybe your married girl's gone wild friends have some advice. She stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time. The understanding, supportive husband was gone, replaced by someone who wasn't going to be manipulated anymore. This isn't you, she said. You're not cruel like this. You're right. The old me wasn't cruel. The old me was understanding and patient and willing to sacrifice his own needs for his wife's supposed identity crisis. But that version of me was based on trust, and you destroyed that. I walked to the closet and pulled out a suitcase. You have 1 hour to pack whatever you can fit in here. After that, you can coordinate with my lawyer to get the rest. Your lawyer? Did you think I was going to handle this with just a conversation? You've been committing adultery for almost a year while making me feel guilty for having normal human desires. This isn't a marriage counseling situation. This is a divorce situation. The reality of consequences was finally hitting her. For the first time since I'd known her, she looked genuinely afraid. Please don't do this, she begged. I can change. I can be the wife you want me to be. You had a year to be the wife I needed you to be. Instead, you chose to be 5 other men's entertainment while making me feel like I was broken for wanting my own wife. She packed her bag in silence, occasionally stopping to cry or try to start another conversation about working things out. I didn't respond to any of it. The time for talking had passed. As she wheeled her suitcase toward the door, she turned back one last time. What about everything we built together? 7 years of marriage? That has to mean something. I looked at her, really looked at her, for what I knew would be the last time as my wife. 7 years meant something to me. That's why this hurts so much. But it meant nothing to you. If it had, you wouldn't have spent the last year making a mockery of it. She left that night, and I didn't hear from her for 3 days. When she finally called, it was to tell me she was staying with one of her friends from the group chat and that she wanted to work things out. I'd spent those 3 days consulting with a divorce attorney who specialized in adultery cases. When I laid out all the evidence I'd gathered, the photos, the messages, the dating profiles, the videos, he smiled for the first time in our meeting. This is the most well-documented adultery case I've seen in 20 years, he said. She won't get a penny. The divorce proceedings revealed just how deep her deception had gone. Her lawyer tried to claim that her behavior was the result of our failing marriage, that she was just seeking emotional connection she wasn't getting at home. But my attorney presented the group chat messages where she explicitly bragged about manipulating me, the timelines showing her affairs started while our marriage was still stable, and the evidence that she'd been actively recruiting other women to cheat on their husbands. The judge was not sympathetic. She tried multiple tactics to save herself. She claimed the messages were taken out of context. She said she was addicted to sex and needed treatment, not punishment. She even tried to argue that since I'd invaded her privacy by looking at her phone, the evidence shouldn't be admissible. Nothing worked. The divorce was finalized in 4 months. She got her personal belongings and her car payment. I got everything else, including the house, my retirement accounts, and my self-respect. But the real justice came later. 3 months after the divorce, I got a call from a man named David. He'd been married to one of the women in my ex-wife's group chat. He'd found the messages the same way I had. Forgotten phone, buzzing notifications, shattered trust. It turned out that several husbands had discovered the group chat and were comparing notes. My ex-wife wasn't just the victim of the system. She was one of its leaders. She'd been coaching other women on how to psychologically manipulate their husbands while cheating. David and I, along with 3 other betrayed husbands, decided to take action. We compiled all our evidence and created a comprehensive dossier of the entire operation. Then we did something that would ensure none of these women could hurt anyone else the same way. We contacted the employers of every woman in the group chat. My ex-wife worked in human resources at a large corporation. When her employer saw the evidence of her coaching other women to commit adultery and psychologically abuse their spouses, including videos she'd taken without consent, she was fired immediately. Two of the other women lost their jobs as well. One was a teacher who'd been using school computers to coordinate her affairs. Another worked for a family counseling center, which had a strict morality clause in their employment contracts. But we weren't done. We also created a comprehensive online presence documenting the entire scheme. Not to shame or harass these women, but to warn potential future partners about their patterns of behavior. We used public records, court documents, and evidence that was already part of legal proceedings. The website was called Married Girls Gone Wild Exposed, and it detailed exactly how these women operated, what red flags to watch for, and how they psychologically manipulated their victims. Within 6 months, my ex-wife had lost her job, her reputation, and her ability to easily deceive future partners. She tried to start over in a different city, but the internet is forever. A year after the divorce, I ran into her at a coffee shop. She looked terrible, tired, older, defeated. She approached me cautiously. "Can we talk?" she asked. "What about?" "I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I know it doesn't mean much now, but I understand what I did to you." I studied her face, looking for any sign of genuine remorse versus self-pity. Do you understand that you didn't just cheat on me? You made me question my own sanity and worth as a husband while you laughed about it with your friends?" She nodded, tears starting to form. "I know. I was sick. I needed help, but I was too proud to admit it." "You weren't sick. You were cruel. Sick people don't coordinate with others to maximize psychological damage. Sick people don't create detailed plans to manipulate their spouses while bragging about it." She flinched like I'd slapped her. "I've been in therapy. I'm trying to understand why I did those things." "Good. Maybe your therapist can help you understand that actions have consequences and that some damage can't be undone." I started to walk away, then turned back. "By the way, how's Alex, or David, or whatever the other guys' names were?" Her face crumbled. "They all disappeared when things got complicated. Turns out they weren't interested in supporting someone whose life was falling apart." Shocking. It's almost like relationships based on deception and selfishness don't have staying power. As I walked away, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Complete peace. The woman who'd made me question everything about myself, who'd used my love and trust as weapons against me, was finally experiencing the consequences of her choices. 6 months later, I met someone new. Her name is Rachel, and she's everything my ex-wife pretended to be, but never was. She's honest about her feelings, direct about her needs, and treats our relationship like a partnership instead of a psychological experiment. The difference is remarkable. When Rachel says she loves me, her actions match her words. When she says she's going out with friends, she actually goes out with friends. When she says she's attracted to me, she shows it instead of making me feel guilty for wanting affection. But most importantly, she helped me understand that what I'd experienced wasn't just adultery, it was psychological abuse. My ex-wife had systematically undermined my self-worth while making me grateful for scraps of fake affection. Rachel helped me see that my desire for intimacy with my wife hadn't been unreasonable or perverted. It had been normal, healthy, and completely justified. The problem was never with me. It was with someone who'd chosen to manipulate instead of communicate. People sometimes ask me if I think I was too harsh in how I handled the divorce and aftermath. If I think I should have tried counseling or given her a chance to change. My answer is always the same. She had 365 days to be honest with me. Instead, she chose to spend those days perfecting her deception while psychologically damaging me for having normal human needs. She didn't make a mistake. She didn't have a moment of weakness. She created and executed a year-long plan to live a double life while making me complicit in my own emotional abuse. Some people deserve second chances, but some people reveal themselves so completely that giving them another opportunity to hurt you would be an act of self-harm. My ex-wife claimed to be asexual to cover up the fact that she was hypersexual, just not with me. She used my respect for sexual identity as a weapon to make me feel guilty for wanting basic human connection with my own wife. But in the end, her lie gave me the greatest gift possible, the truth about who she really was. Now I'm married to someone who celebrates intimacy instead of weaponizing it. Someone who sees our physical connection as a beautiful part of our relationship instead of a burden to be managed. The woman who claims she was asexual taught me what real sexuality looks like. Honest, reciprocal, and based on genuine affection rather than manipulation and control. My ex-wife's greatest achievement was showing me exactly what I deserved by demonstrating everything I should never accept. She said she was asexual. Turns out she was just a sociopath. Our story has come to an end. If you've made it this far, how about subscribing to our channel? It helps us immensely. I've selected 2 other videos for you that I'm sure you'll enjoy. Feel free to click on them. I'll be waiting for you in the next story. See you soon.